Today, we're going to follow a meal on its amazing journey through your body. From that first feeling of hunger to the very last step, you'll see how all your body's systems work together, just like a perfectly coordinated cricket team. Ready? Let's get started. So, let's start with a feeling we all know, right? That rumbling in your stomach right before the lunch break at school. You might think it's just your stomach being empty, but nope. The real reason is actually a lot smarter than that. Okay, so meet ghrelin. You can call it the hunger hormone. Now, hormones are basically chemical messengers, kind of like WhatsApp messages in your body. And ghrelin has a very specific job. When your stomach is empty, it releases ghrelin into your blood, which then travels to your brain with a simple message. Hey, time to eat. That rumble you feel? That's your brain getting the message. Now, what's really cool is how our body keeps everything in balance. So if ghrelin is the green light that says go eat, there has to be a red light to say stop, right? And there is. It's another hormone called leptin. Once you're full, leptin is released and it tells your brain, okay, that's enough, we're good now. It's a simple but brilliant start and stop system. So hunger tells us when to eat. But that doesn't really explain why the thought of a hot plate of biryani makes your mouth water. But stale food is a big no-no. So what guides our food choices? Well, this is where our amazing senses jump into action. Think of your tongue and nose as the ultimate partners in crime when it comes to food. You see, what we call flavor isn't just about taste. It's actually a super complex mix of the taste from your tongue and the smell from your nose. Just think about it. When you have a bad cold and your nose is all blocked up, even your favorite food tastes kind of boring, right? That's because you're only getting a part of the story, not the full flavor. Your tongue can detect 5 basic tastes. But here's the really cool part. Your taste buds can't taste dry food at all. First, your saliva has to dissolve the food, turning it into a kind of chemical soup. Only then can the taste buds actually pick up the taste signals and shoot them off to the brain. It's an instant process that tells you, hey, this is sweet, or whoa, that's sour. Okay, so you've picked your food and it enters your mouth. This is where the real action starts. Your mouth isn't just for talking, it's a super efficient munching machine that starts breaking down your food in 2 very important ways. First up is mechanical digestion, which is just a fancy word for chewing. And your teeth, they all have special jobs. The sharp incisors at the front, they cut the food, just like scissors. The pointy canines next to them, they tear it. And the flat molars and premolars at the back do the heavy-duty grinding. The whole point is to make the food pieces smaller and increase their surface area, which makes the next step way easier. At the exact same time, chemical digestion kicks off. Your saliva has these special little helpers called enzymes, and the star player here is an enzyme called salivary amylase. Its one and only job is to attack complex carbohydrates, like the starch in your roti or rice, and start breaking them down into simpler sugars, right there in your mouth. And listen up, this is a really key point for your exams, so make a note. Saliva makes the medium alkaline. Why does that matter? Because this alkaline environment is the perfect condition for salivary amylase to do its job properly. It's a perfect example of coordination. So once the food is all chewed up and mixed with saliva, your tongue expertly rolls it into a soft, slippery ball called a bolus. Then you swallow, and this bolus begins its journey down the next part of the track, the esophagus, which you probably know as the food pipe. Now, the food doesn't just fall down the esophagus because of gravity. No way. It's actually pushed down by a very powerful coordinated muscle movement. And this brings us to another super important exam point, peristalsis. Peristalsis is the wave-like movement. The muscles in the wall of the esophagus squeeze and relax in a wave, pushing the food down, kind of like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. And you don't even have to think about it. It happens automatically. It's involuntary. After its trip down the esophagus, the bolus lands in the stomach. Now, the stomach is like a muscular J-shaped bag. It churns and mixes the food with really powerful digestive juices, including hydrochloric acid. This whole mixing and churning process turns the food into a thick, soupy liquid called chyme. So let's do a quick recap of the journey so far. It starts in the mouth, gets pushed down the esophagus, churned up in the stomach, and next, it's headed to the small and large intestines. This is where the final and most crucial steps are going to happen. Think of this as our roadmap. All right, from the stomach, the chyme enters the small intestine. Now, if you could zoom in and look at the inside wall of the small intestine, you'd see it's not smooth at all. It's actually covered in millions of these tiny finger-like structures called villi. And these little things are absolutely essential for what happens next. And here we are at our final big exam point. Why are the villi there? Simple. Villi increase the surface area for absorption. All these little folds create a massive surface area, much, much bigger than if it were just a flat tube. And more surface area means more space for all the good nutrients from your food to get absorbed into your bloodstream. It's all about being super efficient. So whatever is left over, all the undigested stuff, moves into the large intestine. Its main job is pretty simple but very important. It absorbs most of the water from this waste material. This turns it into a solid mass that can be stored and then, removed from the body later on. So we've seen all the individual stages of the journey. But the real magic, the whole point of this lesson, is how it all works together. This isn't just a bunch of random things happening one after another. No, it's a perfectly coordinated performance. Let's look at the team that makes it all happen. See, digestion is the ultimate team effort. You need 3 systems working in perfect harmony. You've got the nervous system, that's the control center, sending all the signals for hunger and telling the muscles what to do. Then you have the muscular system, that's the action hero, doing all the physical work of chewing, swallowing, and churning. And finally, the digestive system itself. That's the processing plant, with all the right tools to get the job done. That right there is coordination in a life process. So there you have it. Your body is this incredible, coordinated machine working 24/7 to power your life. It really is a perfect team. The only question left is, are you giving your team the high-quality fuel it needs to perform its best and win? Something to think about.
Hello, students. Exams coming up and feeling that pressure? Don't even worry about it, because today we are going to absolutely master one of the most important chapters in biology, respiration. Stick with me, and let's make sure you walk out of that exam with full marks.
All right, for the next few minutes, I need your complete attention. I promise you, what you're about to learn here is basically your secret ticket to some easy, guaranteed marks. This is a super high weightage topic, which means every single concept is crucial. Ready? Let's jump right in.
So, before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, let's build a really strong foundation. We're going to start with the most basic question of all. What in the world is respiration, and why should we even care about it? Think about it this way. Just eating food isn't really the final step, is it? Your body needs to actually use that food. Well, respiration is that magic process. It unlocks the energy that's trapped inside what you eat, and that energy powers everything you do, from walking and talking to even just thinking. It's how your body finally puts that food to work. Okay, let's get something straight right now. This is a super common mistake, so listen closely. Breathing and respiration are not the same thing. Imagine this. Breathing is like a delivery truck pulling up to your house with a package of oxygen. But respiration, that's what happens inside the house, when you actually open that package and use what's inside to power everything up. See the difference? Breathing is the delivery, respiration is using the delivery. To make this whole thing crystal clear, we're going to go on a little adventure. We're going to follow a single particle of oxygen on its incredible journey, all the way from the air outside deep into the tiny cell that's desperately waiting for it. Let's trace the path together. This whole journey really just happens in 3 simple stages. First up, breathing. That's just getting the air in and out. Step 2 is gas exchange. This is where the good stuff, the oxygen, actually gets into your blood. And finally, step 3, cellular respiration. This is the grand finale, where the real energy is actually unlocked. Let's break down each step, one by one. So the journey kicks off right at your nose. As the air comes in, it gets a full VIP treatment. You've got tiny hairs that filter out dust, the air gets warmed up and it gets moistened. It's basically prepped perfectly before it travels down the main windpipe, called the trachea, and then splits into smaller tubes, the bronchi, to reach the lungs. And now we've reached the main event. Deep inside your lungs, there are millions of these tiny air sacs called alveoli. You could think of them like super busy exchange counters. It's here that oxygen is handed over to the blood, and in return, the blood drops off its waste product, carbon dioxide, for you to breathe out. It's a perfect little swap. And here we are, the final stop on our oxygen journey. The oxygen, which has been hitching a ride in the blood, finally reaches a cell and enters its engine room, the mitochondrion. You've heard this a million times. It's the powerhouse of the cell. And this is exactly where that oxygen gets to work, breaking down food molecules to release that precious energy your body needs. Okay, journey's over. Now it's time to switch into full-on exam mode. This next part is your exam booster pack. These are the points that show up in exams again and again and again. So focus up and let's lock in those marks.
This table right here is basically a guaranteed question, so pay very close attention. Just look at the numbers. Oxygen goes down from 21% to 16%. Why? Simple, your body used it. Carbon dioxide shoots way up from almost nothing to over 4%. Why? Well, that's the waste product. And nitrogen? It stays exactly the same because our body can't use it. These are easy marks just waiting for you. Here's another key difference you absolutely have to know. Aerobic respiration, that's the normal stuff, using oxygen. But what happens when you sprint like crazy? Your muscles need energy right now, way faster than you can supply oxygen. That's when they switch to anaerobic respiration. It works without oxygen. It's a quick fix, but it gives you way less energy and produces something called lactic acid, which is exactly what makes your muscles feel so sore later. So how is all this energy stored? Well, it gets packed into the special molecule called ATP. The best way to think of ATP is as the energy money of your cells. And get this, a single molecule of ATP holds 7,200 calories of energy, just ready to be spent whenever your body needs to do, well, anything. That's a whole lot of power in one tiny package.
You know, knowing the right vocabulary is a total game changer. These words right here are what your examiner is looking for. Alveoli, epiglottis, trachea, diaphragm, ATP, and mitochondria. Seriously, hit pause right now, write these down, and make sure you can explain every single one. This is so crucial.
All right, so knowing the facts is one thing, but writing the perfect answer is the other half of the battle. Now, let's look at the difference between a kinda okay answer and a full marks, topper level answer. I'm going to show you a common mistake and then the topper strategy to crush it.
Here's a question that you will almost definitely see in some form. What is the role of the epiglottis and diaphragm? Just take a second and think about how you'd answer that, okay? Now, let's look at two totally different ways to answer it.
So this is what a lot of students write. It's not totally wrong, but it's just too simple. Epiglottis stops food. Diaphragm helps in breathing. An answer like this might get you maybe 1 mark out of 3. And you know why? Because it tells the examiner what they do, but it doesn't explain how they do it. This is not a topper's answer.
Now, check out the topper's strategy. See that difference? It is so specific, and it's loaded with keywords. The epiglottis is a muscular valve that acts like a traffic cop for food and air. The diaphragm contracts to inhale and relaxes to exhale, which changes the chest volume. It explains the how. That, my friends, is the secret sauce for a full marks answer.
You guys did a fantastic job. We've covered so much. Now let's lock it all in with a super fast, rapid revision. I want you to actually say these out loud with me. You ready? Let's go.
First one up, alveoli. What are they? The tiny air sacs in the lungs where gas exchange happens. Say it with me. Alveoli, gas exchange.
Next up, epiglottis. Remember, this is the muscular flap that protects your windpipe when you swallow. Say it with me. Epiglottis protects the windpipe. And the diaphragm. Come on, you know this one. It's the big muscle at the bottom of your chest that powers your breathing. Say it with me. Diaphragm. Breathing muscle. And last but not least, ATP. This is the energy currency of the cell. It's the entire reason we even do respiration in the first place. Say it with me. ATP. Energy currency. Perfect. We are all done, but I want to leave you with a really interesting question to think about. Both respiration and burning something, like a fire, use oxygen and fuel to create energy. So, why don't our cells just catch fire and burn up? The answer is all about control, using special little helpers called enzymes. It's pretty cool when you think about it. All right, all the best for your exams. You're going to do great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're diving into a super fast, last-minute revision of the Excretion chapter, specifically for your SSC 2026 board exams. Let's make sure you know exactly what you need to score full marks. Okay, listen up, everyone. This is super important. This chapter is a gold mine for marks in your board exam. Seriously, if you know this chapter well, you're looking at guaranteed marks. So let's revise it quickly and get you ready. First things first, the most basic definition you absolutely have to know. What is excretion? It's simple, really. It's just the body's way of cleaning itself out. You know, separating and throwing out all the harmful waste products. So how does our body do this cleaning? Well, let's look at the main parts of our excretory system. Think of them as the body's official cleaning crew. You need to know the flow of how waste moves through this system. You have to remember the correct path. It's so important. First, blood gets filtered in the kidneys. From there, the urine travels down a pair of tubes called ureters, gets stored in the urinary bladder, and is finally removed through the urethra. So, remember the sequence. Kidneys, ureters, bladder, urethra. Got it? All right, let's zoom in on the most important organ of this whole system, the kidney. You can think of it as the engine room, because this is where all the real magic happens. This diagram of the kidney, super important, expected in the exam. Just notice the two main parts. See the outer, darker part? That's the cortex. And the inner, lighter part is the medulla. Easy, right? Cortex outside, medulla inside. And get this, it's pretty amazing. Inside each of your kidneys, there are over 1 million tiny, microscopic filters doing all the heavy lifting. 1 million. So let's see what these little units are. And here it is, the nephron. Now this is a big one. You must, and I mean must, be able to draw and label this diagram for the exam. This tiny little thing is the filtration unit of the kidney. It does all the work. So if you remember one thing, remember this line. This is the crucial one-liner for your exam. Say it with me. The nephron is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. Just burn that into your memory. Okay, now for what is probably the most important long answer question from this entire chapter. We're talking about the process of urine formation. Get this right and you're looking at a lot of marks. So pay close attention here. This question comes up all the time in the board exams, and it can fetch you anywhere from 4 to 8 marks. Let's break it down so it's easy to understand. Don't worry about memorizing 4 long steps. I have a simple trick for you. Just remember the letters FRSC. F for filtration, R for reabsorption, S for secretion, and C for concentration. You have to write all 4 steps in this exact order to get those full marks. Don't miss a single one. Here's a quick one for your multiple choice questions. What is urine actually made of? Well, the biggest component by far is water. Remember this number, about 96%. The rest is just all the waste products. So kidneys are amazing, but what happens if they stop working? What if they fail? Well, the body has to have a backup plan, right? Let's quickly see what that is. So when the kidneys fail, all those poisonous wastes start to build up in the body. That's really dangerous. The solution? Well, there are 2 main options. Either dialysis, which uses an artificial kidney machine, or a more permanent fix, a kidney transplant. You should also know the proper definition for dialysis. It's basically the process of filtering blood using a machine when a person's own kidneys just can't do the job anymore. Think of it as an outside kidney. Okay, time for a super fast recap of the most important points to lock it all in. This is everything you absolutely have to know. Are you ready? Let's go. 1. Excretion is the removal of waste. 2. The kidney's job is to filter blood. 3. The nephron is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. 4. Urine formation has 4 steps. Just remember FRSC. 5. Dialysis is the artificial kidney. And last but not least, I'm telling you again, you must practice the diagrams, the kidney and the nephron. It's critical for scoring well. And there you have it, your entire chapter revised in just a few minutes. You know the key definitions, the big processes, and which diagrams to focus on. Now go and ace that exam. All the best! Hello, students! Let's get you ready for your SSC 2026 exam. We're doing a super fast revision of the transportation chapter. We will cover everything you need. Okay, let's jump right in. This chapter is very important for boards. Our target is full marks, so pay attention, and let's make sure you get there. First up, a very common 2-mark question. What is a transport system? It's simple. It's just the system in our body for carrying things like food and oxygen to all our cells. That's all. Now, let's talk about the main topic of this chapter, the heart. This is where you can score big marks. Look at this diagram. See, the heart is about the size of your own fist. Now, very important exam tip. You must practice drawing and labeling this diagram. It's essential for getting good marks. So the heart has 4 chambers. It's very easy. The 2 upper chambers are the atria. They collect the blood. The 2 lower, thicker chambers are the ventricles. They pump the blood out. Just remember, the right side handles the deoxygenated or impure blood, and the left side handles the pure, oxygenated blood. Simple. And here it is, a guaranteed 1-mark question. What is the relation between pulse rate and heartbeat? They are the same thing. Your pulse rate is your heartbeat. Remember this. Pulse rate equals heartbeat. Okay, let's move on to the pipes that carry the blood. This is a very important topic for a differences question, so listen carefully. The difference between arteries and veins is a classic exam question. Look at this table. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Because the blood is coming straight from the pump, the pressure is high, so they need thick, elastic walls. Veins carry blood back towards the heart. The pressure is low, so their walls are thin, and they have valves to stop blood from flowing backwards. Confused? Don't be. Here's a very simple trick to remember. A for artery, A for away. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, which means veins must carry blood to the heart. So, what connects the arteries and the veins? Capillaries. They are super tiny, the smallest vessels. This is where the real work happens, where oxygen and food are actually exchanged with the body's cells. Okay, so we have the pump, the heart, and we have the pipes, the vessels. Now let's see how the blood actually travels. This is called circulation. Now this is a very, very important 4-mark question. Why do we call human circulation double circulation? Let's break it down. It's called double for one simple reason. The blood passes through the heart twice in one complete cycle. The first loop, called pulmonary circulation, sends blood to the lungs to pick up oxygen, and then it comes back to the heart. The second loop, systemic circulation, takes that oxygen-rich blood and pumps it to the whole body, and then it comes back again. 2 loops, 1 cycle. This makes it super efficient. You know the lub-dub sound of a heartbeat? That's what we call the cardiac cycle. The lub sound happens when the ventricles contract to push blood out. The dub sound happens when they relax. It's just the sound of the heart's valves closing. And that brings us to blood pressure. There's one value you absolutely have to remember for your exam, 120/80. The top number, 120, is the pressure when the heart contracts. The bottom number, 80, is the pressure when it relaxes. Just memorize it, 120/80. Okay, 2 more quick things. First, blood clotting. If you get a cut, these tiny things called platelets rush to the spot and form a clot to stop you from bleeding. Second, the lymphatic system. It's like a cleanup crew. It collects any fluid, called lymph, that leaks out from the capillaries and returns it to the blood. Right, let's switch from humans to plants. This is another area where you are guaranteed to get questions, and it's very easy to score marks here. This slide shows you everything you need to know. Plants have 2 main transport tissues. Xylem transports water and minerals up from the roots, and phloem transports food, which is sugar, from the leaves to all the other parts of the plant. Remember this line, xylem carries water, phloem carries food. So, how does water get all the way up a tall tree? The answer is a process called transpiration. It's basically the evaporation of water from the leaves. This creates a kind of suction pull, like when you sip from a straw, and that pull is strong enough to pull water all the way up through the xylem. Okay, time for a final super fast revision. Let's lock this entire chapter in your brain so you don't lose even a single mark. Ready? First, definitions. These are your must-know definitions. Be prepared to explain each one of them for 2 marks. Next, the difference between questions. You will definitely get one of these. Remember to answer them in a table format, just like we showed you. It looks neat and helps you get full marks. And finally, these key facts. Remember them. 4 heart chambers. Pulse rate is the same as heartbeat. Normal blood pressure is 120/80, and platelets are for clotting. These are perfect for 1-mark questions. And that's it. With this quick revision, you are fully prepared. You have all the important points. So all the best for your SSC 2026 boards. Go and score full marks.
We're tackling one of the most crucial chapters for your exams, one that's absolutely loaded with questions worth 4 and even 8 marks. Think of this as your game plan for scoring big.
So, the real question is, how do you make sure you get every single one of those marks? You know, it's not just about memorizing facts, it's about knowing exactly how to present them, and that is precisely what we're going to break down right now. First things first, we've got to build a solid foundation. These are the core concepts, the absolute must-knows that everything else is built on top of. Get these right, and you're already halfway there. So what is reproduction at its heart? It's simply the process that life uses to create new individuals, to produce offspring. It's the essential mechanism that keeps life going. Lock that definition in. It is the perfect, clearest way to start any answer on this topic. And life basically has two different game plans to get this done. You've got asexual reproduction, which only involves one parent, and then you have sexual reproduction, which needs two parents and something called the fusion of gametes. This difference is absolutely fundamental.
So, let's zoom in on that one-parent plan. And you'll want to pay close attention here because questions about the different types of asexual reproduction are a huge favorite for examiners, and they often come up as 4-mark questions.
First up, we've got binary fission. Honestly, it's as straightforward as it sounds. You have one parent cell, like an amoeba, and it just splits into two identical new cells. Simple as that. One becomes two.
Next is budding. Think of yeast. A tiny little outgrowth, a bud, starts to form on the parent's body. It grows, and then eventually it just pops off and becomes a brand new individual. Then there's fragmentation. This one's pretty amazing. An organism like Spirogyra can literally regrow from just a broken piece. You snap a piece off, and that fragment can develop into a whole new organism.
And then there's spore formation. You've definitely seen this in action. Think about that fuzzy rhizopus fungus on an old piece of bread. It releases thousands of tiny little spores, and each one can land somewhere new, and if the conditions are good, start growing into a new fungus. Okay, here is the single most important thing you have to remember for all of these methods. The crucial point is this: the offspring are genetically identical to the parent. They are exact copies, clones. You have to write that in your exam. And we can't forget about vegetative propagation in plants. This happens naturally from parts like leaves or stems, but we can also do it artificially. A really important method is grafting, where we combine parts of two plants to get desirable features, like delicious fruit on a really tough, resilient tree.
All right, let's switch gears to the two-parent plan. Now we're getting into the more complex stuff, the kind of concepts that form the backbone of those big 8-mark essay questions.
In humans, the whole process kicks off with fertilization. This is that incredible moment when a male gamete, the sperm, fuses with a female gamete, the ovum. That fusion creates a single cell called a zygote, and that one cell has all the genetic instructions to grow into a new human being.
Now, once that zygote starts developing into an embryo, it needs a serious life support system. This is so important. The placenta is the powerhouse, delivering all the nutrients and oxygen. The umbilical cord is the physical connection, the lifeline. But here's the key detail you can't forget. The mother's blood and the embryo's blood never actually mix. It's all about exchange across a special barrier.
Plants, of course, have their own version of this whole process. For them, the key players are the stamen, which is the male part that makes pollen, and the carpel, which is the female part that holds the ovules. Now for a concept that is extremely important in plants, double fertilization. The name kind of gives it away. Two separate fusions happen. The first male gamete joins with the egg to make the zygote, just like we'd expect. But a second male gamete fuses with other cells to create something called the endosperm. And the endosperm is basically a built-in lunchbox. It's the food supply for the growing zygote.
Now, running in the background of all of this is cell division. And comparing mitosis versus meiosis is pretty much a guaranteed 4-mark difference between question on any biology exam. So let's make sure this is crystal clear. Let's break it down side by side. Mitosis. Its purpose is for growth and for repairing your body. It creates two identical cells, and the chromosome number stays exactly the same. But meiosis is different. Its only job is to make gametes, sperm and eggs. To do that, it has to cut the chromosome number in half, and it ends up producing 4 unique cells. That uniqueness is so important for genetic diversity.
Okay, you have all the knowledge, but how do you actually turn that into marks on the exam paper? This is the topper strategy. This is how you ace it. First, let's talk about what not to do. These are the classic traps that students fall into. Number 1, skipping diagrams. Huge mistake. Mixing up mitosis and meiosis, forgetting to give specific examples like amoeba or yeast, and finally, writing long, messy paragraphs instead of using clear points. Avoid these.
So what's the formula for a perfect answer? It's actually a pretty simple 4-step process. 1. Always start with a clear definition. 2. Add a simple, clean, labeled diagram. I can't stress that enough. 3. Underline your important keywords so they stand out. And 4. Write your answer in clear, numbered points. It makes it so easy for the examiner to give you full marks.
If you only take one single thing away from this, let it be this. The golden rule in biology is that a diagram is an absolute must for getting full marks. It shows you truly understand the concept and communicates it faster than words ever could.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. We've gone through the how of reproduction,
But take a second to think about the why. Why is a process like meiosis, which creates all this genetic variety, so incredibly essential for the survival and evolution of pretty much every species on this planet? That's when you really start to see the big picture.